there's nothing I can say that will bring somebody to enlightenment. It all has to come from the inner being. And we have a tremendous blessing here because we have an enlightened master, Ramana Maharshi. Have you heard of him? Ramana Maharshi from India, died in 1954, is still very much available to people for guidance, for assistance. And from my own experience, the master is Master Nomi, who is a disciple of Ramana Maharshi. Without them, there would have been no way I would have become free. And I'm still working on it. Not I'm working on it, but I'm still being worked on for all the fine points and not so fine points. But that's another story. I want to talk about what a tremendous blessing that is to have a spiritually very high being, what they call a Satguru, meaning the greatest of the teachers, Ramana Maharshi. He can reach from where he is and affect every single one of us here. And I would hope, I hope that people connect with Ramana, because that's where the true guidance comes from, the blessings come from, the insights, the knowledge, the clarity. He is, as it were, okay, there's God, or there's the self. He is so identified with that, and he comes as a person, in a way, so we can identify. Just like Christ came for the sake of people, so they would know who to relate to. It's very difficult to relate to the formless reality. It's very difficult to relate to the formless reality, which is yourself. And you can see the difficulty because even like with Christians or with Muslims or with any religion, they're always praying to something out there somewhere. They don't realize that that self is inside, is in everything, as in everywhere. It's in every place. It's in everything. It is the reality. It's consciousness. It's intelligence, but it's formless. So we don't really relate it to our own being. We think we're separate from God. But we're not separate. There is no such thing as separation. There's only God. And God is everywhere and extremely powerful. I mean, to even say extremely powerful is not to nowhere touch what amazing things can happen. Amazing things can happen. You can't believe it. I mean, I'm always going, wow. I've never gotten where I'm like, oh, it's just God. Never. I mean, it's stupendous. Stupendous. What our true being is, what our own being is stupendous. But we live in a kind of cloud that is superimposed on that reality. which we would consider our thoughts, our past conditioning, our even more further back conditioning from past lives, which a lot of us don't believe in. It doesn't matter. Anyway, there's a lot in that cloud that comes and settles over you, and you identify with it. That's me. But it's just a cloud. It's not you. And we've identified from the minute we've come into this world as a child with the cloud, the conditioning that the parents put on us. And from then on, it's just like we're separate, but we're not. Meditation helps to break the barrier, give you an insight into that there's something greater here. There is something greater here than what meets the eye. And the teachers, Ramana, Muji, all of them come kind of from the same source that I've been playing. You know, Ramana Maharshi was the Sat Guru. A lot of them came, Muji, Nisargadatta, Maharaj, Papaji. They come down, and everybody, even if they're not in the direct lineage, are always referring to Ramana Maharshi. Adi Shanti is from Northern California, refers to him. They all refer to him. I mean, this is the essence of non-duality. Non-duality means there is no separation. There is no you and me. There is only one reality, one being, one intelligence. But it takes time for some of us, believe you me. It takes time, and it takes some hard knocks to get that knowledge, to get it and to love it more than anything. Love it more than anything. Love it. You know, every day we wake up in the morning, oh, how wonderful. A chance to be present here now. How perfect this world is. Inside. Inside. Without worry, without concern. Knowing that you're constantly being taken care of, constantly. You can feel it, and especially when times get really rough. That's my experience, is you feel a kind of comfort, like this, a kind of love that is enveloping you, that is lifting you up, and you just cozy up to that. You just cozy up, thank you. You know, it's happened many times for me. Recently, we just cozy up to that wonderful, effulgent love that you can feel, that is present, that is real. And if we're lucky, we get pushed to that place. Not lucky, that's not the word I want to use. If we're ready, and if we want it enough, then we will be brought to that place of that inner love and peace. And we love that place of inner love, inner peace. We love it. I mean, you may not in the beginning, and for a long time, but you'll find after a while, like, oh my gosh, you don't want to contaminate it with thoughts about, oh, this and that and the other, and there's so much of it going on, and it clouds over. You don't want to contaminate the purity that you sense and you feel, which is your true nature. Underneath even the worst craziness that goes on in this world, underneath that is a solid love, actually, what I found out is the very basis of reality. And it's so amazing. I still am amazed. Like I'll be going through something, and then when I let it go, love floods in automatically. Automatic. It's automatic. And it's somewhat of a surprise over time. Love is the very purity of nature, of reality is love. And I'm not just saying it because I've heard it before. Just it's from my own experience. I don't know about the fact. So, the reason I couldn't find anything to play today was because two new people come. And I always play a certain something as an introduction to Ramana Maharshi. And it's spoken in understandable English from Ram Das. And he went through hell too. I mean, he went through a lot. But we won't go into what he went through. Let's just play. He talks about Ramana Maharshi. This is an introduction to Ramana.
Experience the remarkable presence and clear teachings of Sri Ramana Maharshi. Maharshi's name needs little introduction. To them, as now, seekers who wish to awaken from the powerful illusion of the ego and abide in the perfect peace of their true nature have turned to his teachings. There is a spontaneous simplicity and humility about him, a sense of universal equality and heart-opening love. His actions were natural and spontaneous and reflected a life that was fully identified with the one consciousness, the self in all beings. Karl Jung had planned to visit the Maharshi, but for various reasons never made it. Jung writes about Ramana. What we find in the life and teachings of Sri Ramana is the purest of India, with its breadth of world-liberated and liberating humanity. It is a chant of millenniums. In India, he is the whitest spot in a white space. Born in 1879 to pious parents, the child was named Venkataram. Aside from several auspicious indications surrounding his birth, there were few specific signs that the young boy's destiny would take a spiritual turn. When he was only 16 years old, attending high school in the city of Mumbai, in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu, he had a remarkable experience of death, which led to a permanent awakening to the Devil spirit. Arriving at the sacred hill of Arunachala, he spent the next 54 years either on its slopes or foothills. People from all over the world came to sit in his presence, which had a profound effect on quieting the mind Maharshi's teachings are uniquely suited to modern life and provide for a clear and balanced synthesis of head and heart. He was not concerned with theory or philosophical discussion. Rather, he consistently guided the seeker back to the source of real being, with its theoretical basis in Advaita or non-duality. Ramana taught that we exist as the Supreme Self at all times. We need only awaken to this reality by seeking the source of the ego or I thought, and abide in the self where we always are. He referred to this method as self-inquiry. The path of self-inquiry frees one from the unceasing fear and turmoil resulting from taking the ego to be real. By becoming free of the ego illusion, one experiences true freedom and security. It is this path that takes one from the current duality of the individual and the world to the bliss of one's real nature. Through this awakening to self-awareness, even by imperfect glimpses, one begins to sense a reality not confined to the ego's world. And this current of awareness is ultimately revealed as the self, pure consciousness. The Maharshi generally taught in silence, and the sincere seeker will often experience a silent influence of the mind. Verbal expression of this silence was always given freely to all and frequently combined with humor and laughter. While his physical presence was overwhelming and his majesty and beauty indescribable, he remained completely natural, simple, unassuming, and wholly unaffected. Join me as we explore the life and teachings of Ramana and Maharshi and turn back to the source of divine happiness, the source in which all questions and doubts resolve themselves, in the awareness of our true. And this is where the story begins. For a few people began to gather around the stage, seeking his guidance. Perhaps it was simply the fulfillment of bodily time, or the motiveless compassion that reacted to the desire for guidance on the part of those sincere seekers. But something seemed to draw him back to a fuller bodily life. Slowly, seekers would approach him to have a doubt cleared, or to simply sit in his peaceful presence. Shiva Prakasham Pillai was one of the early visitors who became captivated by the young sage. The teachings on self-inquiry as given to Shiva Prakasham Pillai became the key message of the Maharshi. The great Sanskrit scholar and ascetic, Vishishta Ganapati Muni, had mastered a broad range of scriptures, disciplines, and meditation practices. Feeling frustrated that he had not progressed further in experience, Ganapati remembered the young sage living on the hill and approached him with great emotion, desiring to know the true meaning of tapas, or spiritual practice. The young sage gazed at him silently for a while, and then replied, "If one watches whence the notion I arises, the mind is absorbed in the mind. That is tapas. When a mantra is repeated, if one watches the source from which the mantra sound is produced, the mind is absorbed in that. That is tapas." This response on the part of a young ascetic filled Ganapati Muni with joy, and he declared that Kalyana should now be known as Bhagavan Sri Ramana. Those who surrounded Ramana during his lifetime came from very diverse cultural and social backgrounds. What they had in common was a sincere aspiration to experience true inner peace and freedom. Ramana never saw anyone as separate from himself and had no disciples in the conventional sense. He told a visitor in 1936, "The person may call himself my disciple or devotee. I do not consider anyone to be my disciple. If people call themselves my disciples, I do not approve or disapprove. In my view, all are alike. What can I say?" He regularly said that the Guru was not a physical form, and guidance continues after the demise of the body. Therefore, there was no need to create a lineage or provide for transmission in order to carry on successorship. Several well-known devotees expressed the different ways in which they experienced Maharshi's presence and teachings. The inquiry is not a mental investigation such as psychologists might indulge in. It is not a probing into the faculties, urges, memories, or tendencies of one's conscious or subconscious mind, but a quest of the pure I amness that lies behind all things. To meet the needs of various seekers, Ramana did expound various doctrines. But we have heard him say that his true teaching, anything else, is just imagination. So be itself here and now. There is no need to run off to a forest or shut oneself in a room. Carry on with your essential activities and free yourself from association with the doer. Self is the witness. You are that. Bhagavan has written a song whose import is that the path is very easy if the mind is not allowed to stray after the senses and directed to inquire into its true nature. Certainly, the heart will be reached and the self perceived. The teaching of Bhagavan has acquired worldwide recognition and attracted earnest seekers from all 5 continents, as much for its simplicity as for its sturdy rationality, which appeal both to the head and the heart. It can, however, be summed up in the ancient dictum, know thyself, or seek the secret. When Ramana spoke, the words seemed to come out of an abyss. One could see immaculate purity and non-attachment in him and his movements. In his vicinity, the mind's distractions were overpowered by austere and potent calmness, and the unique bliss of peace was directly experienced. Again and again, he gave us the teaching that the real Maharshi was not the body which people saw. It was the inner being. Those who never made the journey to India during his lifetime may take comfort in this thought, that it is possible to invoke his presence wherever they are and to feel its reality in the heart. Ramana wrote very little and taught mainly through the tremendous power of silence. The writings of Ramana were created mostly to meet the specific needs of others and fall into 2 general categories. The first is where perfect knowledge is combined with the ecstasy of devotion. Tears of joy streamed down his face as he wrote. These devotional poems mirror the aspect of longing and the bliss of fulfillment. The other writings writings enunciate his teachings in both poetry and prose. These include clear expositions of the nature of God, the mind, the world, and the individual. Just as Ramana realized the self without previous spiritual or philosophical instruction, he attached little importance to theoretical study. Therefore, his writings focus on the practical approach of turning toward the source of self-knowledge, rather than getting lost in the never-ending cycle of intellectuals. Ramana indicated the heart was another name for God, or the self. It is called heart since it is the source from which the universe rises. He stated the heart is not physical. In Sanskrit, heart is hridaya, which means that which is the center. It is that from which thoughts arise, on which they subsist, and where they resolve. The heart is the center of it all. It is said to be the infinite. In the book, Ramana Arunachala, Arthur Osborne writes, "It was the most majestic film I've ever seen, the most awe-inspiring, and yet without incident. The view of the Arunachala hill from the ashram drive, and then a tall, frail, light-complexioned man with short white hair, descending the slope of the hill with the aid of a staff. Then he was seen coming out of the ashram hall, stopping to smile to a baby, walking across the ashram ground, just simple, everyday actions. The simplicity was so natural, so spontaneous. After years of living in caves upon the Arunachala hill, the Maharshi moved down to its base, near the resting place of his mother. After a short time, a small ashrama began to take shape around him, and what is now the current Sri Ramanashrama had its modest beginning. Seekers from all backgrounds and religions came to be in his presence. Ramana sat in a modest hall, available day and night to answer questions from sincere seekers. His only possessions were a loincloth and a towel. He never asked anything from anyone. Until the frailty of age set in, there were no set hours for approaching him. During the final year of his life, devotees were requested to let him rest at midday. In response to this request by ashram authorities, Ramana himself sat outside the hall until the rule was retracted. His humanity and sense of equality was true universal. In 1949, it was detected that the Maharshi had malignant sarcoma in his right arm. In spite of intense medical care, on April 14, 1950, his physical end was apparent. The last photo of Ramana was by the French photographer Henri Cartier-Bresson, taken just 10 days before the Maharshi left the life. In the evening, as devotees sat on the terrace outside the room built specially for his convenience during his last illness, they spontaneously began to sing the refrain to one of his stirring hymns to Arunachala. 7 p.m., an enormous star trailed slowly across the sky, passing to the northeast of the peak of Arunachala. The meteor was noted as far away as Bombay. During the mid-part of the 20th century, a steady stream of visitors traveled to the ancient land of Tamil Nadu in the southern region of India to experience the remarkable presence and clear teachings of Sri Ramana Maharshi. The Maharshi's name needs little introduction. For them, as now, seekers who wish to awaken from the powerful illusion of the ego and abide in the perfect peace of their true nature have turned to his teachings. There was a spontaneous simplicity and humility about him, a sense of universal equality, and heart-melting love. His actions were natural and spontaneous, and reflected a life that was fully identified with the one consciousness, the self in all beings. Karen Jung had planned to visit the Maharshi, but for various reasons never made it. Jung writes about what we find in the life and teachings.
Just realized it was repeating when you mentioned following. So that's a little introduction to Ramana Maharshi, an extremely powerful and very helpful teacher for seekers who are seeking after the truth. Do you have any questions? India may be foreign to us Westerners. That's a possibility. However, if one can ignore that, you just ignore the difference that we've never seen before, someone in a white glove, we can ignore that and just focus on what the being represented. He represented the absolute pure consciousness, which really is who we all are, and never feel that it's far removed from your experience. Even today, right now, when you walk out of here, you can get a sense of who you are. When the mind is empty, not thinking, when you're just walking like an innocent child down the road, you're in a moment opening up your being to reality. Even now, here and now. And it doesn't take any time at all. But sometimes it does in our heads. We think, oh man, this is going to take forever. Not so, not really. Not really. If you've had the blessing of having had a tough time of it in this life, tough other people to deal with, physical problems, strong attachments to anything, then you're blessed, because when there's the rubbing of the ego self against something or some idea or some experience, that's when the opportunity or the door opens to have a sense of reality beyond that. nowadays, I am so happy for having gone through this whole thing for so long, because it just seems to come in. I mean, it just like it's opening and opening and opening into grace, into God. How different a life like that lived is from an ordinary life. So I ran into a person from ping pong in the library over there, and I haven't been to ping pong in some months. And she goes, "Oh, you haven't been coming?" And I said, "Yes, and it's because I realized that I don't have any interest so much anymore. I would go and spend a half an hour and I'd be glad to go." And she said, "But don't you get bored?" I said, "Never." I said, "So much is going on inwardly. So much is going on every day. It's not dull. Whole day long. Watch yourself. Watch what's going on." And that's what I'm doing. I'm watching. I'm watching where the mind wants to go get annoyed at something. All the time I'm focused on that now. I'm more aware than ever before to stay in the shade of the self, to stay in that beautiful effulgence. I swear to God, it's the most beautiful thing, to experience. And I say to myself, these poor folk, they go there every day, they go to some event or something, and they think they're going to find happiness there, but it's so transitory, it's not even happy. There's a dissatisfaction underneath all that, because it's not rewarding. It doesn't feed the spiritual side of our being that loves love, that loves purity. It doesn't feed that. It's like you go somewhere and you don't get any food at all. Doesn't feel good. So it's very difficult for people that are spiritually inclined to just engage in a normal kind of existence, a normal kind of life anymore. They don't need to go out and go everywhere and do everything. They're happy just as they are with what is. So you watch what you do. Be aware. That's why meditation is also very, very helpful, because it slows down the mind, gives you a chance to be quiet inside, so that then you can turn around and watch and be aware of where you misidentify. Little things, big things, And as I was playing, I played a puppetry tape last Wednesday, and that was just exactly what I've been following for myself, is to keep quiet inside. Keep quiet. When it comes at you, be it fear, be it dissonance with another, conflict with another, stay quiet. Deeply stay quiet. I don't mean say nothing and do nothing. And yes, it's best in some instances, just don't say anything. But inside you're quiet. Through and through you're quiet. Not just verbally quiet, but inwardly staying absolutely as a kind of witness, but even more than that, being as if you were dumb, deaf and dumb. Deaf and dumb.
Don't go there.
There's your key. Deaf and dumb. Because there is the self. There is, the power is present in that silence. In that silence, it's not empty. You're allowing spirit to come through. You're allowing the power of the self to manifest. It gives you power to remain silent. Have you ever tried to get into it? Have you ever been in an argument with someone? How far did you go with the argument? Who won the argument, and was it satisfying? No way. The most satisfaction is if you remain out of it. You just slip on out. Not there. Not there. Go ahead. You're not going to find anyone to tangle with. Because people want to tangle. That's the nature of ego. It's just wants to tangle. Let it go. Stand outside, and that is so satisfying. One time, when I had broken my back, my lower back, and I woke up one morning, and this is separate from what I've just been talking about. It has to do with the physical. And I woke up and I could feel that my back was going to go into tremendous spasm again. It was going to go into immobilizing, paralyzing pain, and also lack of movement. Can't move, cannot move. So I woke up with that, getting ready to happen. And because I was so close to being asleep, because of that, my being was very silent in that time. And instead of getting all tensed up that this was going to happen again, I just smiled spontaneously. Spontaneously smiled and let it go. I said, so be it. And I smiled and nothing happened. But this is just an instance. This is just an instance. We have to realize that there is God, and that we are that God, only God. We have to get to realize that, but we're so busy focusing on this world that we miss it. Totally miss it. Totally miss it. There's no room for God. No room for God. We're entangled, as it were. But here's the good news. God is more powerful than the mind, much more powerful than we realize. Capable of working miracles, capable of finding solutions that you would never have dreamed of. And it's such a pity that we can spend the rest of our lives focusing on the externals and not realizing the great potential that we have inside, of realizing who we are, of realizing it, actually embodying it, realizing it, not as an intellectual understanding, but as something that we've integrated into our own being, such that we've become that. I have some literature back there, and also there is a powerful healer. heals cancer. She recently, she was at my house about 2 or 3 months ago, telling us of this case of a person with 4th stage brain cancer. And what she does is biomagnetics. You lay on the bed, magnetic, have you heard of that? So that's for healing. That is for healing. So she said that the brain tumor of this fellow, I think it was, or whatever, I don't remember, was just draining, coming out, getting drained away. And was healed from it. Cancer and all other kinds of diseases. Biomagnetics. I use that as my insurance policy. If I ever have trouble with the body, that's where I'm going. Not going to chemo radiation. So, I'll give you a photo of that. If there are no questions, we're in Satsang here. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Gina.
Come back.
We find ourselves coming back. Consider yourself less. Because it's not just me. You've got a huge, the word huge is not conveyed. It is not conveyed.
I was trying to, you don't know that, respect the source.
Oh, yes. If you can do that, by all means. Not too many people can.
I don't want to practice. I'm also recovering.
Recovering.
Both. Something very unusual.
Okay. What do you call it? The
12 steps.
For, oh. But
Meditation is primary part of it.
Is this for alcohol?
That is, but I've also been to outside groups.
Okay.
That practice meditation.
That practice meditation. Very good. Then if you have a direct link, then grab it and use it. By all means. By all means. If you have that kind of connection directly, then it's there.
Kingdom of heaven.
Yeah. Right here then. Right there. Somebody else has done.
Keeping the door open.
Okay, so see you Wednesday. Yeah. Huh? Oh, I don't know. We'll go find it out.
Nice meeting you both. Nice meeting you. Bye-bye. I got the literature.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. And you are Jane?
Gina.
Gina. Thank you so much.
For your sake, not mine. That's all I'm here is to share.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.